In just the first week of 2026, we've already had a handful of historic events and some controversial thoughts here and there. So, starting with the Iranian protests, followed by the US takeover of Venezuela, where the president was essentially kidnapped, and it was done so well that this has emboldened Trump and the US to try and take over Greenland again. That's reunited their interest. Followed by that, Trump is surprisingly declaring war on big investment firms such as BlackRock and Blackstone by preventing them from being able to buy single family homes in order to address the housing crisis. And then there was that whole issue with ICE shooting Renee Good and essentially deleting her, which has triggered nationwide debate again with the Democrats and Republicans. And the UK wants to ban Twitter. So I don't think we're ready for what's in store for the rest of this year, especially considering that this year is the midterms as well. So we're about to be in for a crazy fucking ride. And I'm going to do a quick deep down of each of the topics that I just mentioned, starting with the Iranian protests, because not a lot of people are talking about it. And I like to think that I tailored my algorithm to get both left leaning and right leaning content or like a nice mix of them. And I'm surprisingly not seeing too much about the Iranian issue outside of like Twitter and YouTube. So I wanted to bring this to light, starting with so with the Iranian situation, these past couple of weeks, Iranians have been protesting, trying to overthrow the current religious government because they're not happy with how bad the country's gotten ever since the Islamic takeover in 1979. Because you got to think about it, before the current government took power, Iran was basically like the Switzerland of the Middle East. Like some parts were basically comparable to Beverly Hills, and you had beach towns that were comparable to Malibu. And what I have over here is just the current map of the protests, which is historic because typically these kinds of protests get shut down by the Iranian officials very quickly, but it's been just escalating since late December of last year. And I have a little map, a little interactive map that's going to show the progression of how these protests have gotten. So let's start. So as you can see, that's December 29th, the 30th, 31st, New Year's, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th. It's getting crazy again. The 7th, it got even crazier. And then it stops kind of there after the 7th. But yeah, as you can see, this is unheard of in Iran because usually it's illegal to complain about the government over there. And you even have women taking off their hijabs and showing off their hair, burning up portraits of the leader, and demanding that the crown prince returns. So it's been just a shit show over there to the point where you even have Iranian military and police officers defecting their posts to join the protesters and burning up buildings. And I actually have a couple of those videos here on that I found on Twitter over here. So let's get it real quickly. And as you can see, protests that started in late December over soaring inflation and a collapsing rial have grown into demands for an end to a clerical rule. Now in their second week across Iranian cities, son of the last Shah urged unified street action and international help to restore connectivity, while reports indicate SpaceX activated a limited Starlink service. Rights groups report at least 45 protester deaths, including children, amid violence and Supreme Leader Khamenei's accusations of foreign interference, with U.S. President Trump warning of a strong response to crackdowns. So, yeah, you have the president urging to take action, but I don't think Trump should take any action. And I think this regime change has to all happen from within, because if the US comes in and they try to do the regime change, they're going to just blame the US for causing more instability. It should be done within. And then let's see. There's some videos over here So yeah, I wanted to show the videos. So you got this one over here. Let's turn up the volume. But look at how big those crowds are. Typically, this would involve you getting arrested, like straight up. It's crazy how so many people are chanting right now and how crowded these streets are over in Tehran. This is Tehran. Let that sink in. You are watching a revolution unfold live while the world's media stays dead silent, which is true because the mainstream media isn't really covering this. They're not covering any of this, which is kind of surprising. And the mainstream media news outlets from both parties, Fox News and CNN, nobody's reporting on this. It's pretty wild. And then you have another one where they storm the gates of the Ayatollahs. And then let's read the post over here. Not a rally, not slogans from across the street, physical entry into protected clerical site. That matters. These compounds aren't just residences, they're power markers, walled, guarded, untouchable. With the internet still restricted, footage like this leaks out in fragments. But yeah, these protests have gotten so serious that the internet in Iran has essentially been blacked out because they're trying to limit the amount of information that they're giving out and that they receive, obviously, because this is just a bad look for the Iranian government in general. And even Starlink is starting to lose steam over there. So yeah, it's just all over crazy. I'm trying to find there here. I wanted to show this one where they're burning shit. Like they're literally burning down regime buildings. That's crazy. And this was taken yesterday, January 8th. Like, look at that. That is just craziness. And it's so bad to the point where the current Iranian leader is considering defecting to Moscow because of how bad the situation's gotten. Like, he's fearing for his life right now. That's how crazy the tables have turned in this whole Iranian situation. And here's another video of the burning. The revolution will be on the internet. You know how they say that the revolution will be televised? Fuck television, man. Television doesn't do shit anymore. They just pacify everything. It's now streamed on the internet. And what's even crazier is that Twitter is considering how should I say this? Is considering, or actually they're not considering, but they're about to change the Iranian flag emoji to the old Iranian flag. So that's even crazier. But yeah. Oh, and then we have
خیابان‌ها را در سرتاسر مملکت تسخیر کردید.
Oh, it's in Arabic, but we can at least, or Persian, sorry, I should say Persian, my bad. It's Persian. But yeah, translated from Persian. I am proud of each and every one of you who took over the streets across Iran on Thursday night. You saw how massive crowd forces the repressive forces to retreat. Those of you who were hesitant, join your fellow compatriots on Friday night and make the crowd even larger so that the regime's repressive power becomes even weaker. I also invite field leaders to try to connect different crowd routes to each other and make them bigger. I know that despite the internet and communication cuts, you will not abandon the streets. Be assured that victory belongs to you. Yeah, I think there's a very high chance that the Iranian government is successfully overthrown in the coming weeks, maybe months at latest. And this is a huge deal because this could be a step in the right direction where Iran starts to slowly get back into its former glory, because back in the 70s, this place was popping, as I've said earlier. It was just popping. People were popping champagne. The girls were out in bikinis. life was good. Life was good. They had their own Malibu, Beverly Hills. Life was just good over there in Iran. And the $1 million question is, will they name it back to Persia? But yeah, this is a huge deal because if this happens, then there's less of a security threat in the Middle East. So that means the US and other allies don't have to spend as much money protecting the Middle East from Iran and having to deal with counterterrorism or piracy or whatever. So yeah, I mean, this would be huge. This would be massive, right? And not only that, but the government gets overthrown. Now let's go back to me real quickly because I want to just talk a little bit more about the next topic, which is Venezuela. And Venezuela was kind of crazy too, right? That was historic in its own way, simply because of how fast and effective it was. Regardless of what you think about Trump, I'm personally not a big Trump guy, but the way the military just swooped in and managed to kidnap the president overnight was wild. That was like as clean as it could get. That is so fucking wild. But yeah, basically, as you might have already known, they on January 2nd, they basically invaded Venezuela. On the night of Friday, January 2nd, they invaded the country. And then by Saturday morning, they got the president and they pretty much took him into full custody. Nicolas Maduro is now in custody. And what's funny about that is the place that he's being held in right now is where Diddy, Luigi Mangione, and SBF from the whole FTX thing are all being held. How fucking crazy is that all that is going on right now? And because of how smoothly the Venezuela takeover happened, it's now reignited Trump's ambition to go after Greenland for supposedly military reasons, for national security reasons, which I find kind of odd, simply because the U.S. is already allowed to put as much military troops as they want to on Greenland. It's part of the treaty that was signed in the 50s that gives the U.S. full right to install as many military bases and personnel as they want. Now, Trump argues that it's not enough because he doesn't want to deal with paperwork. But I think the other reason as to why he wants Greenland is simply because Greenland is also rich with rare earth minerals that are going to be easier to access with the polar ice caps melting. So there's less issues on trying to navigate around to farm those rare earth minerals. And it also opens up trade routes that the US obviously wants control over because they're worried that China and Russia are going to capitalize on it. But this shakes up the world order in a bunch of ways, because whether the US takes over Greenland the easy way or the hard way, NATO, the other NATO countries have already made it clear that they're going to defend Greenland even if the US tries to invade, which would effectively break up NATO. And the US doesn't care because the US thinks that they are the power behind NATO, which is true to an extent, but it would be interesting to see the US square off against all these NATO allies in a conflict over Greenland. But yeah, the rest of NATO made it clear that they're going to back Greenland and try to defend Greenland if the US does try to take over. So the US has that option on the table, but the other option that the US has is they're considering just paying off citizens of Greenland. Like they're considering giving each citizen of Greenland $10,000 to $100,000 to join the US or to support joining the US. So how is this going to play out? Who knows? But there's going to be talks next week as far as the Greenland situation goes. So who knows? Maybe something will happen. Who knows? But I know that with the Venezuela success, Trump's not going to give up on Greenland that easily. So we're about to see a shit show over there. And China and Russia are effectively just eating their popcorn right now because they want to see NATO broken up. Because if NATO breaks up over the Greenland situation, then that gives Russia free reign to go after more European countries. So yeah, this would definitely shake up the world order. and it could work to the benefit of Putin and Xi. And then now on another subject, what I also found very interesting this week is Trump's stance on housing, because his stance is more of like a leftist stance in the sense that, again, he wants to go to battle against these big investment firms such as Blackstone, BlackRock, and all those companies, and he wants to ban them from purchasing more single-family homes so actual families can get into those homes. He's thinking of drafting an executive order, but this is one of those things where I'm going to have to see to believe. He has to actually do it, because part of me thinks that he's trying to just dangle this to win votes in the midterm. So it's like one of those campaign promises that he made that he didn't follow through on, such as the Epstein files, right? He didn't really follow through on that, but he dangled that he was going to release the Epstein files just to win votes. So this could very well be a situation where he's just trying to use this to win votes for the midterms. And then in other crazy US related news, we also had that we also just recently had the ICE shooting of Renee Good. And that's caused a whole nationwide debate between the Democrats and Republicans on who's at fault. Obviously, the Republicans are standing with ICE, saying that she was trying to run over the ICE agent that did the shooting. And the Democrats are arguing that it was mishandled. It was a poorly handled situation from ICE. It was an overreaction, and that ICE stepped over bounds because they essentially deleted her. So, yeah, that's basically where it is right now. My heart goes to Renee Good. She didn't deserve that death. It's just unfortunate that that US is basically in somewhat of a civil war right now with how ICE is going around just doing crazy shit like that, right? And now, in other news, and this literally happened a couple days before this recording, so this is kind of fresh as well. So this is kind of fresh, but the UK wants to ban X or Twitter entirely because of, let me just get it over here, because of sexualized AI images from Grok. And basically, what people have started doing with Grok is they would undress women, but not just any women. They would undress girls that aren't of legal age as well. They would undress them using Grok. And it's infuriated the UK government and the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, to the point where they just want X removed off the platform entirely because too many people are abusing it to sexualize these images. And there's actually a little video here that explains it a little better. So let me play it real quickly.
X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, involving AI-generated images that digitally undress adults and even children. According to research by the nonprofit AI Forensics, more than half of all AI images on X involve this kind of abusive content, with some depicting people who appear to be under 18 and others targeting public figures. Despite promises from
You broke this team
Oh,
up,
what
so
the hell?
don't dare.
That's wild. Oh, shit. You know why? It's probably because I didn't hit the keep watching button. I'm not too familiar with The Independent. But yeah, basically, the best way to explain it is what I've explained earlier, is that, yeah. So apparently we have a bunch of PDF files just perusing on X now, or using Grok to do not so nice things, and they should have their hard drives checked. Should be able to trace it back to their hard drives. Those sick bastards. But yeah, can read it right here. Elon Musk's X could be banned in Britain. The Prime Minister suggested amid concerns its AI tool has been used to generate sexualized images of women and children. Sir Keir Starmer indicated that the social media platform could be blocked in the UK after unlawful and disgusting images were generated using its AI Grok tool. The Prime Minister said Ofcom, which has the power to effectively ban X in the UK, has the government's full support to take action on the matter. He told Greatest Hits Radio it's unlawful. We're not going to tolerate it. I've asked for all options to be on the table. It's disgusting. X need to get their act together and get this material down. We will take action on this because it's simply not tolerable. The platform has faced global backlash in recent days after its AI tool was repeatedly used to generate undressed images of people without consent. The Internet Watch Foundation also confirmed the tool had been used to create criminal imagery of children aged between 11 and 13. Ofcom said on Monday that it had made urgent contact with the technology company after the serious concerns were raised, which is actually wild. So, even if this ban doesn't go through, what do you think about the situation in general? Because I feel like this could start rippling over to other countries, and this could cause Elon Musk to get into some serious trouble over how Grok has been used. But in response to these complaints, they just made it so that you have to be a premium user to do AI, to use Grok for AI images now. So they got rid of it for free users. So now it's just strictly a premium thing. So you can't use it as a free user. So there's that. But will that be enough to please the UK government or even the rest of the world? Who knows? But yeah, I don't think it's going to get taken down in the US simply because of Elon's relationship with Trump, but the rest of the world could start shying away from X and just banning it outright because of these images. But yeah, that's about it. What do you think of all this crazy shit? As I've said earlier, if all this just happened in about the first week of the year, I don't think we're going to be mentally ready for what is to come. But it's pretty fucking wild. And if you've made it this far in the video, make sure you respect the fact that I did this on no cuts, no edits. And that's what I'm trying to go for. I'm just trying to do this on the fly. Just trying to raw dog it because I feel like it feels more authentic in a way, right? It feels more authentic to be able to do this without constantly cutting or whatever. But yeah, that's a tangent. That's another story for another time. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on some of these issues because I'm curious to know. So yeah, catch you on the next one.